Hi, I'm Allie Blake, and I am submitting my leadership interview. I chose Nikki Naylor for this interview. She is my coach for the competitive cheer team here on the University of Florida campus. I picked her mostly because I spend a lot of time with her. 90% of my time is spent practicing or doing something, well, my free time anyway, doing something revolving cheer, and she's usually there, like being our coach and our guide and like leading instructions and stuff. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity. I was also at an event with her all week, so the timing of that worked out well too. Another key reason why I interviewed her is because I will be serving on her executive board next semester, and I thought knowing how her leadership style translate in different situations would be a good thing to understand while working with her successfully in the future. So my perception of Nikki during this interview was very different than what it usually is. She seemed very professional, which I thought was kind of funny because I usually see her in more of like a coaching situation. I see her in a lot of different settings, but I never really see her talk in a professional way towards a student, and she seemed very calm, collected, and like she knew what she was talking about and was ready to answer all my questions even before I asked them. So that was very comforting because I was a little nervous that like being at the competition all week, her head was going to be like in a different space, but she was ready to go. The things that she discussed first during the interview, she mentioned that her leadership styles varies when she's talking to different people. In the cheerleading world, I think since we were at an event, she focused mostly on like her coaching positions. But as soon as she said that, it brought me back to when we were learning about situational leadership and all that, and how communicating with different people during different times is obviously there's different ways to communicate with different kinds of people, and how people like to be like coached and how people like to learn varies person to person. So the first thing she said was she runs our practices very strict, which I've obviously seen being one of her athletes. And she said she did this because she knows that we all cheered high school and we all cheered all-star, and that's how our coaches were perceived back then. And so she's trying to fit into that category in our minds, and since we're on a collegiate level, she knows that she has to like give it that extra 10% just to like fit with the status quo. She also says that I've also noticed, and she did mention that when you talk to her on a personal one-on-one level, if you have a problem, she's very compassionate. She understands how to work with you and makes you feel comfortable in the situation, which is different than when she's in a coaching environment and she's just giving very generic information. She also said that when she judges or when she's working with judges, she acts very professional. She has a very different personality. She doesn't let her feelings or opinions cloud what she's doing, which is, I think, another big part of being a leader, is being able to see everything the way it is, and knowing that sometimes one thing has to fit for all, which can be a difficult decision to make sometimes. But this is obviously very different from when she's talking to us personally and she's trying to fit things into our schedule and with our personal problems and things like that. My perception of her as a leader changed after this interview because I always thought that I really respect her as a coach, and I do like her as a coach, but I always thought that she didn't really have a method. She was just kind of going with what she thought was right. And after hearing her speak during this interview, I realized she knows what she's doing. She understands the different personalities and perceptions she has to have in her different leadership roles, and she is very conscious of what's going on around her while making decisions for the team and for herself as an individual. And I think I gained a lot of, not that I didn't respect her before, but I do respect her a lot more now, knowing that she has those thoughts in her head while she's making decisions for us as a team. And then finally, one key statement that she made that really opened my eyes to her leadership style and leadership style as a whole was she was saying that when she thinks that we are absolutely exhausted and she knows that we don't want to do any more at practice and we can't do any more as a team, she pushes us that extra 30%. She said, when you think you're at 100, you're only at 70, and you still have that 30% to go, and she pushes us to reach that 30%, which makes us such great athletes and puts us in that collegiate level. And I think that really stuck with me because like when your followers are worn out or they don't think they don't like agree with what you're saying or think that they know what you're talking about, you have a method to your madness and you're doing things for their benefit, and you know that they have more to give, and you're pushing them to get that excess and like reach that capacity that they didn't know they had themselves. And I think that's a big part of leadership, and I hope one day as a leader I can get my followers to reach that maximum point, like past what they think that they can do, and push them to be the best that they can be and the best that I know they can be. So yeah, my interview was very successful. I had a really good time talking to her in a more professional way, and that's it. Thank you.